What is going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It is Thursday, December 21st. What is going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's
It's the holiday season. It's a rainy day in SoCal.
Thursday, December 21st. What is going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition.
We're not only going to break down holiday season, it's a rainy day in Continental Classic and all of that. We're going to go back into a throwback scene and break down some of the past. I hope you guys all enjoy Continental Classic and all of that. When we do that, of course, I'm going to need a stack of and I always have the same stack of riding with me every Thursday afternoon. Let me start first. Howden, and I always have the same Howden opinions from Wrestling Republic. Anthony Ricciardi, how are you doing today? Let me start first. Howden, and I always have the same Howden opinions from Wrestling Republic. Anthony Ricciardi, oh no, that's not good. Is it? Are we live? Howden, can you hear me now?
Okay. Do I?
You should be able to hear me. I can hear you.
I had to mute the other one, the Instagram one, because it just kept playing over and over and over.
That
again.
makes sense. That's being shared. Okay, that's why.
Yes.
So wait a minute. Hang on. Let me redo the cold open. Okay, welcome everybody, by the way, to the show. Sorry about that. That's hilarious. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now that the other thing is paused.
Delightful. Sorry. So, well, not paused. This has been technical difficulties out of the gates, everyone. Still, Merry Christmas. Happy Thursday. It's Throwback Thursday. We're going to head to Philly first. Anthony, how are you doing on this Thursday?
I'm doing all right now that I'm not hearing the voices in my head. I felt like Randy Orton here.
Oh, dude, it was the share screen thing. That one is on me, technically, from a fundamental standpoint.
I mean, I love Chaos's jingle, but it was constant, and then you trying to do the opening, so that was fun.
That's good.
But now that we're coherent, I'm looking forward to talking about Dynamite. I always look forward to doing this show, and we'll be talking about Goldberg streak ending in the throwback, so it should be fun.
Absolutely. I'm stoked about it. And we got a comment here from number one, Superfly. Dude, not your fault. That was actually totally mine. Still getting used to this new being live on Instagram as well. It's a huge hassle. I hope that does get figured out eventually to make it easier, because I am good at hosting and co-hosting. But I will tell everybody, and our next co-host can attest, in my skill set, tech stuff like this, not one of my strengths. Never been great at it. Do my best, hard worker when it comes to that, but man, does it take some getting used to. And we will get those bugs figured out. If you did miss it, because obviously it sounded goofy, I do think I nailed that cold open. But Shad, in the DMV, the Tuesday Night Delight himself, happy Thursday, everybody. Classic start to the show. How you doing, Shad?
Bro, I thought my mind was just going crazy. I thought I had like an extra tab open. I thought it was my phone buzzing, but that was quite a memorable moment. I'm good though, man. I'm definitely ready to talk about AEW Dynamite and Goldberg. Let's get into it. I even got the bald head like him today too.
Honestly, Shad, what cracks me up is like, it's kind of like, you know, when you get caught with your hand in the cookie jar.
Yeah.
It'd be like if you got caught with your hand in the cookie jar on a security camera, because on my end, it was just like totally normal. So I'm like, obviously it wasn't, and it wasn't supposed to be that way. That's why it was so funny. It's like, I cannot wait to go back and watch it.
Can I tell you, there's a certain irony here. The fact that probably two of the most memorable daily opens or events happened on a throwback. This now for the opening, and then the closing was you and I not knowing how to end the show, and there's a dead minute of dead air because we both went, "We'll leave." That'll
Too
end the
funny.
show.
I have like no idea what's going on, and everyone's like, "Why is it echoing out there?" Like, Bobby Petito's even laughing. Good to have you, Bob.
Oh, yeah.
He said, "I hope you guys are having a great Thursday. You as well."
Be good,
Bobby.
Bobby.
Too funny. We're off and running though, guys.
Yeah,
Bro,
Classic.
That was so funny.
Okay. In all seriousness, though, let's get
serious.
Let's get into serious-ish. We'll try serious adjacent. I would say. Let's talk about the Continental Classic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited about it because I was right, and who doesn't like being right? I called it yesterday. I said we're getting the 3-way tie, and guess what? We're getting the 3-way tie.
Mm-hmm.
I was stoked about it. Moxley looked like he might win. And all of a sudden, we've got Moxley, Swerve, and Jay White. 3-headed monster atop the Gold League. Anthony, I'm going to toss this one to you first. Who's winning that match? And what were your thoughts, more importantly, though, on the matches last night to start?
Well, they gave Jay White the win, and it's almost like, here's the consolation prize that you got lost to a one-legged man at the pay-per-view. We'll have you get it into a 3-way tie. The person who should win is Swerve. This tournament, Swerve should win the whole thing. Swerve should be the Triple Crown champ, whatever they want to call it. He should be the one who wins it. I absolutely loved the Jay Briscoe, the Jay Lethal Mark Briscoe match, which I thought was an incredible match, and it really showcased both guys. Throughout this tournament, they've had decent matches, but they really didn't have a chance to showcase because they're Ring of Honor guys. So AEW people have to beat them. At least that seemed to be the theme. And a matter of fact, I had sent a message to Shad during the show, and I went, okay, are they actually going to let one of these two win, or are they going to do a draw? Like, what are they going to do? Having Mark win was the right move. I really want to see Mark get the recognition he deserves. I know he's always been a tag team guy with his brother, and I'm not saying, you get behind him and build a company around him, but like, I really wanted him to get a Ring of Honor world title shot. And I think I had said that to you, Clark, especially going into like Mania weekend for Supercard. Obviously, that's never going to happen now since they're merging that title with the Triple Crown. I think the match next week is going to be really good. Anytime you do a 3-way with the caliber of talent that's going to be in that ring, it should be really good. It should. The talent's there. Whether or not they're going to be able to execute it, it's been kind of hit or miss in this tournament. So I'm curious to see which way it goes.
Yeah, I hear you. It is interesting with the Mark Briscoe stuff. That one and the match not really feeling like it totally mattered in the context of the standings. I also think is something that, was a little bit unfair to Mark, I think, in this situation, only because he's such a valuable performer and we all know his story and he's so amazing in the ring. We got a comment here though from Number One Superfly, which is the 3-way is very interesting. I'm hoping Swerve wins the match by pinning John Moxley, but protects Jay White. I don't hate it.
I think Swerve should pin Moxley since Moxley beat him. Like, to me, it means more to him, but I feel like they almost made it a 3-way to protect Mox. Like, are they really just going to have him just Swerve beat Jay White and then build something afterwards and go, you didn't beat me in the tournament, you beat Jay? Like, are you going to do that and have a Swerve Moxley feud? You could, but I don't know if that's the direction they're going to go.
I totally hear you, and I find this interesting as well. We got another comment here from Bobby Petito, which is he's interested to see who could win between Jay White, Moxley, Swerve Strickland in this triple threat match. And it's funny, we've talked a lot about the tell us a story and do this and that and the other through this Continental Classic, and didn't we in the end game here end up with just an absolute gem of a triple threat match, like a delightful triple threat with 3 legit main event caliber talents. I am excited about it, and I think the execution is better than we've given credit for it along the way, right? Hindsight is always 20/20, and I think it's fair sometimes to, I don't love to go back. I'm a big stay in the present guy personally, but if we are going to go back, which we will, not just now, but later in the show for Throwback Thursday, I will say in hindsight, it was better than I probably even recognized at the time. And we ended up with a great
triple threat action here. Shad, I got to get your thoughts on last night's matches and then this triple threat match. Anthony, do you officially think it's Swerve going over?
I think Swerve should go over, yes.
And then, so then just finish up with your pick, Shad, and I'm tossing to you right now.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, before I give my prediction and my pick, I got to give kudos to all the matches that happened last night. Swerve and Roosh, solid bout. There was a couple things I was a little iffy about within the construct of the in-ring work. I'm not a big fan of someone kicking out after one once you hit a 450 splash. It's a little not something that I'm very too big on, but it was still a solid match. I thought Jay um Lethal and Mark Briscoe was the match of the night last night out of all the matches. And I wanted, before I give the pick and obviously talk about the main event, I got to give my props to those two guys because it is a factor that we knew their match didn't have a lot of value to it, but they wrestled like it meant the world to them. And I think that's just them being rivals, them being compadres, being from ROH, cut from that cloth and put it on the show. And if you want to talk about a borderline MVP of the Continental Classic, isn't it going to be Mark Briscoe? Like, I don't think he's had a bad match in the entire Continental Classic. I've liked every single match that he's been a part of. And I hope Tony Khan is watching these and looking at it like Mark is definitely, how we look at it. Jay Uso is a superstar, as a solo superstar. I think Mark Briscoe can be a very good solo superstar. Obviously with the unfortunate circumstance with him being there, but I think he's ready to be that solo superstar, and I think you got to give kudos to him. Now, the main event with Jay White and John Moxley, and it leading to this triple threat match, I'm excited for it, and it's hard not to be excited for it because you got to think of it. You got three premier guys. The only thing is this: I know the people in the comments are saying that the move should be Swerve, Pin, and Moxley. I think Jay White is positioned in this triple threat match to be the guy who takes the pin, which is unfortunate because Jay White is a top-notch superstar. He's one of the premier guys on their roster, and you want to see him positioned and get a opportunity to possibly be a champion. But it's cool with me just because they got a lot of heavyweights in the match, and I would rather see the man who I am going to pick win get that belt and get to the finals, and that is Mr. Swerve Strickland. I think it is the right time for him to win this and get to the finals. I don't know if he'll win the finals. I'll pump the brakes on that, but I think the best bout would be for him to be in the finals. I initially, when we did the Continental brackets and before the matches occurred, I thought it was pipeline to be Moxley versus Danielson, battle between the two Blackpool Combat Club members, but I've said it time and time, week by week. Swerve's meteoric rise is something that you can't ignore, and it's something you continue to book him strong and put him in prime positions. And putting him in a primetime match with Danielson in the Continental Classic, even if it's win, lose, you got to put him in there, man. He's really becoming one of the head talents that you have, and there's something amazing that happened later on that we'll get into. But I'm gonna go with Swerve Strickland. I think he cannot be denied, and I think he's gonna win it.
Absolutely. I like the Swerve Strickland call. Personally, I'm gonna go complete wild card. I'm gonna be the only one to not pick Swerve Strickland. I think John Moxley is gonna win it. I think John Moxley wins this match, and I think Swerve and Jay White end up in a rivalry, and Swerve Strickland ends up being a babyface because the crowd is cheering Swerve Strickland the last few weeks because of how great his heel work has been. Mm-hmm. And this is one thing AEW has done a good job of and does deserve credit for is the Acclaimed, we forget, were heels. And they struck while the iron was hot when they got over. MJF, you can debate that one all you want, but merchandise-wise and as far as popularity-wise, as a babyface, he's still huge right now. They have gotten this right in other scenarios, and I do think it's getting closer. As a diehard fan myself, right? If you want to call me a Mark, my name's Clark, but you can call me a Mark, whatever you want to do. I would admit that I will be sad to see how like sadistic and vindictive Swerve's character has been over the last year go, if that is the case. But between Nana dancing and how good the heel work has been in today's climate, as far as the fan base is concerned in professional wrestling, it may be time to turn Swerve babyface. And if Swerve maybe hits a stomp on a John Moxley and somehow Jay White is the reason that he doesn't win via pinfall and get his comeuppance on a Mr. Moxley, Switchblade, I don't think is in a position to play a babyface anytime soon. Perfect heel counterpart for that flip on Swerve. Go right ahead.
One thing to counter what you're saying, I do agree that he is completely over. The crowd loves him. They were chanting his name like crazy last night. The only issue is I feel like the character that he is and just that pure aura and essence and him being so like he's like a Dawn, right? Like he's like
he's got like a little bit of like Heath Ledger Joker in him too. It's kind of gnarly.
Ledger. It's like he's an absolute like boss, like a mob boss in a way. And I just don't think it's the same thing with Roman Reigns. Like Roman Reigns doesn't
the Godfather.
He's going to be cheered.
He's like the Godfather. Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
It's a little bit like playing Grand Theft Auto. You're using the bad guy, but you end up rooting for the character.
Yeah, I think he's in that same like the same exact type of heel that Roman Reigns brings to the table, just being the man. Like that's what the fans like. He's not doing anything to make the fans want to chant for him and whatnot. It's just him being that darn cool that they want to root for him.
It's the heel that you love,
right?
And the one thing is, I don't think Moxley picking up the win really doesn't benefit Moxley. Moxley's already a made guy.
I agree.
Swerve walking away with 3 belts is a very gangster move, especially after taking out Hangman the way he did. Having him have a feud with Jay White, the guy that lost to Max, who was one-legged, doesn't really benefit Swerve as much as
no question. Now, I will say, though, my only retort to that, and we don't have even time for that today or whatever it is, I think the winners come from the Blue League. And that's why I have Moxley going over. Because I agree with you on the made man thing, but I think that the spin-off storyline is Swerve and Jay White going after each other. And then I think the winner comes from the Blue League, but that's neither right. That's the only thing that I would add. But I do agree with what you're saying there about Moxley being made already. There's a couple questions we got in the Instagram section here. I wish I could show them on here, but we've got Empire Man 55 with what do you guys think of the women's division in AEW? We're going to get into that. Not this segment, but the one after.
Very long topic.
And then he also asked, do you feel AEW is better than WWE? Oh my goodness. No, we can't answer that question.
Oh, we're
not biased.
Biased. Yeah, we enjoy
I think they're both great.
We enjoy all facets of professional wrestling. AEW, WWE, TNA, New Japan, Indies, all of it. So if you like just people who love this art of pro wrestling, tune in to us, man.
Yeah, absolutely. That is 100% spot on there, Shad. With that, though, let's move on and let's talk about MJF and Samoa Joe's promo last night. You know, there's been a lot of talk this week kind of about the story between MJF and Samoa Joe, and I was a little bit like, wait a minute, this dates all the way back to Grand Slam with the shoulder bump. They were half telling it at All Out in September, right?
It goes even further back, NXT.
Yeah, if you really think about it, it goes even further back. Thank you, Anthony. And I'm going to toss this to you. I thought the promo segment was awesome. I'm really excited about the match. I do feel this is a main event match. And the fact that we're in, is it the Nassau Coliseum? I know it's on Long Island, but is it?
Yes, that's
it's at the Nassau Coliseum. What more can we ask for out of this story to culminate, given the will they, won't they, with the bidding war of 24? What were your thoughts on last night's promo, and how excited are you about this match heading into World's End, Anthony?
I loved their build up to Grand Slam. That last promo that Joe gave, where he was just the animal, and I said it when I did the daily. believe it was when you were out of town, Clark. It was the one I hosted, I think. And I remember saying, I'd be okay with Joe beating him. Like this version of Joe, I'm completely fine with. This promo I enjoyed. I don't like, I know what they're trying to do, creating the suspense of who the devil is. But like the names they've thrown out, you're like, those would be horrible choices. Like Hangman, it doesn't really work. He was in the middle of a feud with Swerve. Swerve was the heel. He was the babyface. It made no sense. Them accusing Swerve last night. I wasn't crazy about that. The MJF being behind it. And I'm like, are you really going to go like I think that's a little far-fetched for Max to stalk himself or have a split personality or some other type of explanation of why he's doing it. To me, I think the choice that it should be is Adam Cole, but I don't know whether or not he's healthy enough to do it. I said on the show last week, I still think it's Jack Perry because all evidence seems to point to him, but they're not mentioning him, so that adds to it's possibly him. I enjoyed it when they went Retribution 2.0. Then I had a problem when you had 15 masked guys come out. I'm like, well, I've seen this before. Yeah. I'm like, all it's missing is the chainsaw. And then they
at least the mask had detail this time.
Yes. Well, and then, then it was like the core was a 5 or 6 or whatever the core group is. But it's like, I saw this like a few weeks ago. You did the same thing where you're like, I want a Ring of Honor tag title shot. I'm like, okay, like how many people are lining up for Ring of Honor tag team title shots? The titles have no value. Like, sure, you can have it. Like, we did this before and you didn't do the match. So now you're going to do it again? Like, I think that hurt the segment. Like, the focus should be Max and Samoa Joe at World's End.
Yeah.
But instead, you're throwing this curveball that is probably going to be like a turd in a punch bowl when they reveal who it is, unless it's somebody that completely floors us and makes sense. But I don't think it's going to be. I would love I would love to be surprised. I absolutely would.
And we have so many great comments, and I agree with so much of like what you just broke down there. Mm-hmm. But I just kind of had an idea. And it's one name that I haven't mentioned, and I haven't really heard anyone else mention. We've talked about the devil. The devil keeps getting repeated. Mm-hmm. The devil, the devil, the devil. Mm-hmm. And then the masks and the group. Mm-hmm. What if it's Malachi Black?
It wouldn't fit.
I don't know. Because remember, remember though, the initial thing when the eye makeup thing happened, the initial part of that storyline was that it was the devil possessing him and spreading out of his eye.
Yeah.
Post the WWE thing. For long-term storytelling, I don't know if I hate the House of Black.
Yeah, but the same problem
being
with the
behind this.
The same
even though they haven't been involved in it, because Malachi hasn't been wrestling in singles action.
That has the same problem that Swerve's group being behind it. They go at people head on. They don't hide behind masks. Like it really doesn't make sense.
Though, the house does wear the masks.
Yeah, but realistically, they make their intentions known. And really, was Malachi's intention really be the Ring of Honor tag titles? Of all tag titles, that's the one he wants? Like, it really? I just don't think it fits.
It could be an interesting one. I don't know.
Well, at least you moved on from Wardlow.
He's the devil.
I don't hate Wardlow either.
Well, we know the boots were matched, so we know
there's that issue as well. Jeez Louise. That's funny. And okay. Let's move on though to the AEW women's division, which was asked about earlier in the show. Let's talk about Saraya versus Rio. I did not expect this. We got the double knees out of Rio, so it just puts Saraya away. Like, I don't really get it. I thought Saraya was supposed to be the big signing, and then we never really been truly pushed.
Oh, we're about to. I don't know. With you.
I am going to toss this to you, Shad. I have no problem with Rio at all. But why is she beating Saraya? I don't get it.
Why isn't she beating Saraya? I've come to a point.
90 pounds.
This is the exact disrespect that I'm tired of hearing from you right now and from
I
people
didn't mean that,
online.
but I just was
No,
trying to
no, no,
serve you up
no.
a curve.
No, I'm being completely honest with you. What does her physical stature have to do with anything of her being a wrestling competitor and being a viable competitor? We have plenty of women who have been 5 foot, 100 plus, almost close to 90 pounds as champions before. She's a great worker. She's very fast. She's a better in ring worker than Saraya at this point. That's me being completely honest with you. Saraya historically has been better. Obviously, she's a legend in her own right. But current right now, I'm taking Rio as a bell for bell better wrestler. Rio is also the inaugural AEW Women's Champion. Like, she holds merit to her name, and you can book her to be a viable threat in the AEW Women's Division. The only problem is the booking in the AEW Women's Division is so stop and go. But for people to try to use an excuse of she's so small. She's 90 pounds. She looks like she's 12 years old. That's a bunch of baloney, man. Like, I'm super annoyed and tired of that excuse. It makes all the total sense. Tony Storm is in a feud with her. She is going to wrestle Rio. Why would Rio lose to Saraya? That's gonna not make this match that's gonna happen at the pay-per-view matter at all. Now, should she be wrestling other people? I don't know. That's on AEW's booking. But if we're streamlining her matches to get her prepared for Tony Storm, then yeah, she needs to win it. She beat Ruby last week. What's the difference of Ruby's name and Saraya's name? We're holding on to the namesake value that she was a big signing and that she's a legend. She hasn't done diddly squat after she lost the title. Like, and the
Mm.
storyline is between her and Ruby, and they told her yesterday too. You're the one who been tripping about me saying that, oh, they don't, you hard on the women's division. I'm giving it its flowers right now.
No.
I'm
Never
giving hold
targeted
up.
you specifically, Shad.
I'm giving it its flowers right now because they finally mentioned something within Ruby and Saraya. They've been having this issue. Ruby lost last week. She was watching it. Rio won. You saw the smile on her face. They're gonna be able to tell that story between those two. But I have zero problem with Rio winning this match because she needs to win this match. And I don't dislike even the build up to her and Tony Storm because Tony Storm is amazing on commentary. And I like the idea of her being like, how is this person that's not a threat keep winning these matches? Like, what? How does she do it? She's so good, and she's gonna take her lightly, and she's gonna have herself a dogfight when she gets in the ring with Rio. Rio is her. I am a Rio stan, and I'm gonna even become a bigger stan because everybody hating on my girl. Put some respect on Rio, aka Thanos.
Okay, I will say I really, really love what you said there too, because Rio is the inaugural AEW champion, and we don't put enough respect on that. I could not agree more with you there. But to be clear, by the way, it's everybody else. It's the IWC, whatever that is, that I'm criticizing, not you. You're allowed to say whatever you like about the AEW Women's Division, Shad, in my eyes, and I will absolutely listen. I think you cover the AEW Women's Division as well as anyone. To be clear,
can I point one thing out? And it's a bit of a throwback. And for me, I laughed at it.
Yeah.
Someone in the crowd last night, which I have not seen in many
Oh,
years,
yeah.
someone had "I'd rather be at Nitro" sign. As somebody that Clark, we saw "I'd rather be at Nitro" and "I'd rather be at Raw" signs during the Monday Night War era. I cracked up seeing that on a Turner network again.
Too good.
No,
Okay,
that,
wait.
that was
Honestly,
really
though,
good.
Yes.
And
we are having
people didn't realize that the joke of
yes.
that
Yes.
sign for that reason. Everyone thought he was disrespecting
No.
AEW. Come on, guys. Fans can do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
Plus, they visibly showed the sign last night too.
Multiple
They
times.
probably
Yeah.
saw the jokes about it too. So
Yeah.
Okay, we have to rush through the last
Yeah.
two topics like
Won't be a problem.
speed round.
The next
So
one won't be a
Anthony,
problem.
first, Roderick Strong versus Commander. Roddy goes over, Gutbuster City. What's going on here?
Yeah, I love Roddy. He can work with anybody. Puts on phenomenal matches. Commander's a great high flyer, and I love the finish of the match. The Roderick hitting the end of Heartbreak or whatever the hell he calls it was phenomenal. I thought it was really well done, and that's it.
All right, well played, my friend. Fastest 3 minutes in pro sports here. Shad, you ready for this? We're going to break down the MJF and Swerve Strickland backstage segment. Shad, I'm going to toss this to you. What did you think about their encounter backstage at AEW last night?
I mean, this is the seeds being planted for what could potentially be the biggest rivalry that AEW can have between two of their stars. Like I'm like a repeating record every single week, but I can't stress how great Swerve is doing. And I think Tony Khan is seeing the star there right now. And MJF is their best homegrown talent that they have. I mean, his work, his title reign, everything he does is spoken to it. Having these two playing off of the mask of being outside of the Mogul Embassy, I initially thought, like, man, this actually would be cool if Swerve was the devil, just how much of a master evil genius he is, and having the Mogul Embassy be part of the um masked men jumping people. And I mean, just that encounter between both of them was really good. I love MJF singing his theme song, and kind of going in and out of character being funny but then getting serious, and then Swerve just being strong minded, telling him like, I ain't nobody to mess with, like, my eyes are on the prize right now. And I love it. I think it's the best way to put the initial sees into it. Of course, Samoa Joe is funny, was good in the hood, getting in to it and whatnot. So all in all, man, it was really good, and I'm definitely hyped for whenever we get Swerve and MJF.
Absolutely. I am too. Swerve and MJF to me is, I cannot wait to see that on a poster. That might be a poster that I may have to dabble with buying. But it's Thursday, guys. Not only that, it is the second to last Throwback Thursday of 2023. Believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm stoked about this one. It's one of my favorites of all time.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about the Goldberg streak. And I'm going to go quick story time with Clark Taylor here. So Goldberg, the streak, it's huge, right? You got the NWO going on, all this stuff or whatever, and it ends up being Kevin Nash and Goldberg. And I had one really good buddy. I'm in first grade at this point, by the way. For reference, I was born in 91. I'm in first grade. And the very first time I ever got in trouble in school or sent to the principal's office was after this match. I bet my one good friend, Brian, who was a diehard Goldberg guy, as was I, but I had that gut feeling, even at, 7.5, 8, that Kevin Nash was going to get the job done. So all the controversy surrounding the cattle prod, I'm not going to lie, I really enjoyed it because I bet him his lunch money. And I'll tell you what, I had 2 calzones that Monday because Scott Hall delivered the cattle prod, Kevin Nash with the jackknife, 1, 2, 3, clean, finger quotes, in the middle of the ring. And I totally collected on that bet, even at that age. and got in deserved trouble. But shout out Brian, by the way. It was a classic bet. And also, it's something that I laugh at because I remember it so much more fondly than I think most people that think about the history of the event. Because, the cattle prod and this and that and the other. And I really, 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 it's just funny because it's such like a core childhood memory that's so funny to laugh at now. I mean, I got sent to the principal's office for gambling in first grade with my classmate on Kevin Nash versus Goldberg. But either way, I'm going to toss this one to you, Anthony, first. It's history. It's WCW. It's a classic. Do you think it was the right time in hindsight? Don't obviously worry about my story and history with it, but how did you feel about Goldberg's streak ending? And not only that, the way it went down with the cattle prod via Scott Hall, as well as the jackknife powerbomb.
I have so many thoughts going into this. Clark, you telling that story makes what you sent me in a private message earlier this week of your wish things from 4th grade saying gambling should be legal. This makes so much more sense now. I mean, I know you.
It's the only thing I ever got in trouble for. I was not a troublemaker.
I know you, and that makes sense, but like this just adds another layer. I feel like I know you more. It is a coincidence that, the show started off tonight where it was a little harebrained, almost like somebody banged their head against the wall, just like Goldberg does. You nail this every time, Clark. This is one of those interesting things. Goldberg's streak was 173-0 going into this match. He was the world champion. The 173, it's well known, it's inflated. Like he would be on TV and it'd be like 21-0, and then suddenly when he showed up on Nitro the following week, it's like, oh, he's 33 and 0. Really? He had that many matches between, last Monday and this Monday? So going into this match, Nash winning, Nash is believable. Nash does have a credibility. The problem was that it was so muddled. Like everyone remembers Scott Hall with the cattle prod, but what you don't remember is the fact that Disco Inferno ran in, who was trying to be a member of the Wolfpack, which is the only time that I'll ever mention Disco Inferno, probably on a throwback ever.
No,
After Disco,
not Disco,
Bam Bam ran down and attacked Goldberg as well. That's when Scott Hall came out with the cattle prod. Why it's also negatively remembered is what followed after it, the finger poke of doom, which further crapped all over what just happened. I'm not going to get into finger poke. That'll probably be another throwback. But what I had mentioned a couple months back when we covered Halloween Havoc 98, we covered the DDP Goldberg match. And I said at that time, I think DDP should have gone over. It would have been believable. The crowd would have accepted it. And I think that would have been the smarter play than what ended up happening. It's all remembered for the cattle prod and ending of the streak. It's always difficult to end a streak. But when you do it as muddled as they did, and then the finger poke after, that's what really hurt it. But one of the other things that I fondly remember was the WCW Mayhem game that came out after this, which I remember popping for two things in that game. It was the first wrestling game that you could drag your opponent backstage and fight. And the cattle prod was a weapon in the match.
The cattle prod existed.
You could use the cattle prod or a taser or whatever it was, but it was the equivalent of it. You could electrocute. I remember that. But like to me, DDP would have been the smarter choice back during Halloween Havoc, or have just done this cleanly. I don't think it would have hurt Goldberg to lose to Nash cleanly. Nash was believable. 7 foot, former world champion. Beating, I think that would
University of Tennessee basketball player.
Yes. So, Disco's running, not needed. Bam Bam's running, not needed. The cattle prod, it's fondly remembered, but not for the right reasons.
Well, for me, it's fondly remembered because honestly,
yeah, you're Mr. Calzone. I know.
It made it funnier because it was so like, I can't believe. And I'm like, and you should not be doing that in first grade. Like, no. You don't get lunch today. I do. Kevin Nash, Wolfpack for life. For life.
And knowing you were probably eating it and doing this the whole time.
No, that's how I got caught. Was just absolutely
so karma
rubbing it in. I deserved it. Like it's the worst.
Karma. Okay.
Oh my goodness. We got some funny comments here too from number one Superfly. We've got the way Goldberg lost in Starrcade was horrible. A no DQ match in which Scott had to disguise himself to avoid being caught. Yet he didn't need to cause it. Was a no DQ match. I agree, but at the same time, I think I actually liked that aspect of the storytelling. Numero one Superfly, in the sense that I thought the point of Scott dressing up, this is the one, and I'm not trying to argue the other side at all, but this is the one caveat. I actually thought that was actually smart because it was the fear of Goldberg. That's why he dressed up disguised, because he didn't want to be attacked, right? I mean, Goldberg's the only person I've ever seen that had to have security escort him to the ring during his entrance every time.
Very
not because they were protecting him from you,
but because they were protecting you, and that means the audience and who's in the ring from him. That's why security escorted Goldberg to the ring.
I don't want to cut Shad off, but there was one thing when I went back to rewatch this, you just reminded me when he came out with security. One thing I didn't remember, he stopped in the hallway and signed a kid's shirt before he went out. But but here's the part you don't catch. He just throws the pen. If you go back and watch,
he
just
chucks the pen.
Yes.
Oh no, he does. He backhands it off the wall.
Yeah.
And the wall's 15 feet away too. I know exactly the video you're talking about. He literally just flips it off the wall okay, there's a pen.
All that was missing was hearing the kid go in the background, my eye!
It was like the only thing that could possibly humanize Goldberg for 5 seconds was oh, that's a kid.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, and that's the brilliance, I think, actually, of Goldberg. I'm a huge Goldberg fan personally. Lifetime, and obviously it's funny, I told my first grade story, but I really did love Goldberg. I kind of got to the point when we got to 173 where I was like, come on, K Nash. Shad, though, I got to get your thoughts on this one. Obviously, you're the Throwback Thursday legend with all of us. What were your thoughts on Goldberg's streak ending, and then not only that, the way it went down? Would you have done things different?
I mean, reminiscing as it as a kid, I was so young to a point where I used to just love anything WCW did at that time, especially at that point of the WCW timeline, especially with the Wolfpack being assembled and everything tied to Goldberg and towards that streak. Chaos and all of that type of stuff is fun. Looking back at it, and I rewatched it this morning, it's funny, man. It's a lot of overbooked nonsense that's occurring to it. And if you were to book something like that in today's day and age in professional wrestling, people on the internet are gonna definitely, assess and probably bash it to it hits the dirt. So, but I mean, overall, it's funny, man. I would have done it differently as well. I think when you do get to that level of, wins tallied up, and it's kind of if I had to compare it, it's kind of similar to how we didn't really like how Statlander beat Jade, right? There could have been more of importance by beating Goldberg single-handedly by yourself, and it being a respectable competitor. Statlander was a respectable competitor versus Jade. You said the same thing. Nash, I mean, he's one of the best big men in professional wrestling history. He was part of a big time faction at the time. So I didn't think you needed all the overbooking, the stunt gun part, and Scott Hall wearing the event staff t-shirt and stuff. Funny. It does. I do like that correlation, obviously, with the security coming in with him and him not expecting it. I think that is a smart way to do it if you are going to do it. But I think the main thing is what Anthony said, having Disco come through and Bam Bam, it's just a lot going on, and it happened so abruptly. You didn't even really, I feel like you didn't really build to the stunt gun portion of it like that either, where it could have been more of a moment. But I mean, it's cool, man. It's a funny time.
I agree. Now, here's one more caveat that I will mention, though, to your point. People do forget that this was at the peak of actually the NWO Wolfpack, the Red and Black. Yeah, so this was Red and Black Kevin Nash. This was almost a babyface versus babyface matchup in some ways, as Nash was a tweener. Hall was in the black and white.
Yeah,
NWO at the time.
If I remember correctly, Nash won World War III to get into this match.
Precisely. He won World War III. And I was going to be so afraid that you were going to deliver the punchline that I was about to deliver there. No. This is exactly what led to the reformation of the original black and white for a very short period and the finger poke of doom.
It was a weird NWO because Hogan wore the red and black.
No,
when they did.
No, they did the split shirt for a week, and no one liked it.
Yeah,
but it was the disbanding. It was the not disbanding, but the red and black. It muddied the waters on the red and black version of the NWO, And then the finger poke of doom happens a few weeks later, which I'm sure any Thursday now, we're going to cover the finger poke of doom.
It really was bizarre because the Wolfpack NWO broke up. There was if I don't remember any segment, it was just like, no, they're not a group anymore. Like it's the Nash Hogan reform.
Right. But what many forget is a lot of people actually in the hardcore fan base, especially, were getting sick of Goldberg with the 173-0 thing.
Oh yes.
And so when Nash won, he got cheered. And the thought process was the cattle prod, the cheat to win. And then the reformation of the original NWO it will turn him heel. The finger poke of doom was the last gasp attempt to return Kevin Nash to being a heel, and it didn't work. That's the flop. The flop is not the execution in my eyes on Goldberg Nash itself. The flop is the aftermath.
It would have made sense, but again, Hogan probably wanted to get the belt, used political stroke, probably. Don't know that for certain, but probably did. But like if the thought process was, oh, Nash is the champion, now Goldberg has to go through the NWO to get to Nash, to get his belt back, that's a story you can get behind.
Absolutely. Okay, but seriously, with that does bring us to the end of the show. Thank you, Anthony, Shad. Seriously, awesome show, guys. If you haven't already liked and subscribed, please do. It means the world to us. If you do want to tune in and hear us talk about the finger poke of doom, it might not be next Thursday. It might not be the one after. It might be in 6 months, but tune in every Thursday because we'll be here at 3 o'clock Pacific and 6 Eastern. And then that's in the middle of the night for everybody that's over in the UK. On top of that, tune into the daily, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, 8 o'clock UK, 9 a.m. Hawaiian. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and have an awesome holiday season. Yes. Spend the time with your family and enjoy it. We will talk to everybody soon. Probably tomorrow. No, not probably tomorrow. Definitely tomorrow.
Make sure you